Good evening, and thank you so much for creating time for us on this 25th day of the 8th month, the year 2021, a day when as a country we have recorded about 1,258 cases of COVID-19. The government is now looking for all strategies to ensure that as many Kenyans as possible are vaccinated. We'll be giving you details about this particular plan by the government, plus other issues that we have contained in our comprehensive news bulletin. John Jacob Kuria also will be joining us from Nakuru. Today he's having a sit-down with the KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli to talk about, among other issues, the state of labor movement in Kenya and the BBI. What next following the Court of Appeal judgment? We got that and much more contained in this bulletin that begins right now. But first, here are the highlights. All right, so we got a lot lined up for you. We welcome you to be part of this particular broadcast. At KBC Channel 1 is our social media handle. At Safin_Acheng is where you can communicate with me directly, and also at J Kuria. Use the hashtag Prime Edition as we kickstart this bulletin straight away. Now, on to matters COVID-19. The government is enlisting the support of the private sector in distributing and administering the COVID-19 vaccines in a bid to vaccinate at least 30 million Kenyans by the year 2022. COVID-19 Vaccine Task Force Chairperson Dr. Willis Akhwale says the Memorandum of Understanding is being worked on that will focus on the framework on how the government will purchase the vaccines from funds pooled by the private sector, then task them with the distribution. So far, 2.5 million Kenyans have been vaccinated. That story begins our bulletin.
The country has so far received a total of 3.6 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. From these, 2.5 million Kenyans have been vaccinated, with nearly half of them fully. This is against a target of 30 million Kenyans being vaccinated by 2022. It is for this reason that the government is enlisting the support of the private sector in distribution of the vaccines. COVID-19 Vaccine Task Force Chairman Dr. Willis Akhwale said they will come up with a framework on how the partnership will work.
The ministry has been in discussion with the private sector through KEPSA for almost the last 2 months, with drafting a memorandum of understanding on the role the private sector would play, and along the principles that during the pandemic there will be no sale of COVID-19 vaccines. Secondly, the only importer and distributor of the vaccines will be Government of Kenya.
Speaking during a media roundtable meeting on COVID-19 multiple vaccination deployment plan, Akhwale said the government will increase the vaccination posts from 800 to 3,000 in order to increase daily vaccination rate from 40,000 to 80,000 by September. He, however, said that there was no mandatory vaccination, only that the government was encouraging its staff, especially the ones most at risk, to get the jab.
There's a strong encouragement that people need to take these vaccines. There could be different tactics to ensure that that strong encouragement goes through. And it's not only happening in Kenya, especially with other employers. You can see, even in Uganda, you've heard you can't enter parliament before you are fully vaccinated. You are hearing in other countries, people can't get to job and others. So that is the new norm if we have to beat this. Get strongly encouraged and get vaccinated.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has donated to Kenya assorted medical equipment and PPEs worth 32.1 million shillings. While receiving the donation at Afya House, Ministry of Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache called for sustained adherence to the COVID-19 prevention protocols.
The most logical and the most strategic way for us to handle this is protect our most vulnerable population. And I can assure you, with a steady incoming of vaccines, particularly the ones that we have ordered, the 10 million, once we start getting a good steady supply, we will basically avail the vaccine to any Kenyan who is 18 years and above. But as things stand now, because of that constraint, please let us allow ourselves to first take care of who is most vulnerable and at risk of losing their lives because of COVID-19.
Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Beatrice.